Alright, so I'm changing gears a little bit. The intermittent driver's side running light is fixed now. I didn't do anything, don't know why. But I'm pulling the antenna out because I can't get any signs of life out of it. Wasn't too horrible, had to take that guy out. Wasn't too horrible, but put up just a little bit of fight at the very end, both getting that out and getting that out, just for your own edification, because I did not know. The bolts down here are not captive. So you can slide this guy out if you just loosen it, about 4 or 5 turns. I just about got the bolt cutters to cut this one off until I just kind of angrily gorillaed and pulled this out and then realized they slide it out. So that's nice to know. Then just one big boy grounding strap and a 5-pin plug. So don't know why that has 5 wires. I'm assuming you have 2 different polarities coming from the radio and then 2 polarities coming from the switch on the dash. My best guess. And the main reason I'm pulling this out is because we just noticed that this didn't have a boot. So that explains how there was water getting in here. So we're just gonna plug that up and probably just gonna get a cheap aftermarket because I don't care. But we will bench test this, just see what's going on. Alright, so I don't know if you can hear that, but oh god, speaker works. I think it's just that one is slightly louder, so I can't hear that one. Also, not having an antenna, you don't get any radio. So anywho, that's one other gremlin that actually didn't exist. Alright, so while I have the antenna out and I bench test it, I just found this like bottom of a chair foot, and we just sort of stuffed that down in there. So yeah, that'll keep the rain out. And I've decided that I don't think I'm gonna put the floor mats back in until I figured out some way to like properly rainproof and drain the floorboards, because I don't think I'm gonna keep the rain out. I think they're just gonna get grungy again. So we're gonna throw them in the back of the trunk for now, and we're going to just cut up these cheap rubber floor mats. And I also got seat covers that are properly themed. So we'll have these mossy oak camo seat covers to go with old mossy. I was gonna get some kind of, more upscale tan to match the door panels, but they were out at Walmart and I wanted seat covers, so we got these. So probably gonna regret spending $35 on these instead of getting the right ones off of like Amazon, but whatever. We're gonna throw them on it anyway, and I'm just not going to care ever, and it's gonna look terrible, just like the rest of the car. Well, that looks just fucking terrible. Oh god, I already regret this decision. These things are fucking garbage. They're just like pantyhose material on the back. This front middle section, I kind of like this material. I like what, is kind of going on here. It's kind of like, a medical, like, shop towel. I don't know what you call them, but the ones that they use at, like, the doctor's office for cleaning up, like, vomit and intestinal juices. But anywho, it's really nice for as far as just a sort of weatherproof seat material, but the back is terrible. It doesn't have like really any options for securing it. It's got like one Velcro thing here, this dingleberry that hangs out the back to keep it, taut, which is way too long, and just like 2 strings up here at the top to hold the top, and they're not sewed on there correctly and they fall out immediately. But it's fucking, we'll get over it. It's an aesthetic. Not sure which one, but one of them. So anywho, I'm going to ignore that, and I'm going to vacuum all the crud off of the floorboards, and then we'll throw in these rubber mats, and then I'm going to figure out what kind of saddle blanket I want, and hopefully I can figure out some way to tuck it behind that thing. I think I can pull those out without too much trouble, but we'll see. Fucking wish me luck. Alright, well, I got the rear seat out, and it actually appears to be in pretty good shape, except for, the upholstery and this part of the front of the passenger seat. But we'll just ignore that. And I just vacuumed it. It's cleaner than it's ever going to be in the rest of its life. Now, could probably stand to, I think I missed some over here, but rest of the floorboard, we got all the chunks off of it, cleaned up all underneath the seat, and I found a lot more rust than I anticipated, and in some fairly not structural but significant places. Like underneath here, we also found the plumbing for that big old wire that runs underneath this seat. But we got a nice mouse-sized hole back in here I'll probably have to do something about. This corner right here is just gone, and that's the inside of the frame rail. I don't think this is the frame. Ooh, that's pretty crunchy. So that's a thing. That guy is blown out. I think I saw a small hole down there too. And kind of the largest one is right here on the trans tunnel. You know, just nice, you know, can stick 3 fingers into that. That's what she said. So, yeah, but I got most of the chunks off. You know, it's not clean. Doesn't need to be. Yeah, I think I can take this back. I think I'm going to try and take this backrest off right now, too. I think it's just this bolt, another one over there, and another one right back in here. I think, yeah, and I think that should just come out. Then we can vacuum behind that and get an idea of what it's going to take to, you know, put some kind of saddle blanket on that. But anywho, I'm going to attempt that real quick, and if it seems like a bear, then we'll just throw the back seat back in. Back seat's just held in with 2 clips right there and there, and if you can't get the buttons in all the way, just kind of push it in somewhat, pick it up, and then jam like a putty knife right underneath here, and it'll hit the spring. This guy, and depress this as far back as it'll go, because these are pretty beefy, and you can pop that out. Alrighty, well, I started running out of daylight, so I just put the seat back in, and we'll pull the rear out on another day when I actually have like a saddle blanket or something. Put rubber floor mats in, and actually didn't have to do too much fighting. Just cut that little part out there so it fit underneath the accelerator pedal. And then I made a little cut over there to, you know, relieve this so that it could flop down under here, but then didn't want to do that anyway, so we'll just ignore that. Didn't have to do anything to that one. Didn't have to do anything to these. They're actually could be a bit bigger, but I think that's good enough for now. I would like to have the original carpets back in, but I don't trust this thing not to get soggy, so I think, you know, for the longevity of the floor pans, I should probably just leave these rubber mats in until I can... I don't think I ever even want to risk taking these seats out unless I have replacements, because I don't think these will come out. And if they do, I don't think they will not come out with this structural rail. So I think that's just going to be how it's going to have to be. Alright, a little bit of chain lube and a little bit of cold cranking amps. And, whoop, hold on now. We've proved that the antenna works. Mostly. I cannot get these 2 chunks to separate. I've already hit them with map gas, liquid wrench, and a vice grip pliers combo. And I cannot get them to separate, so we'll work on that a little bit more, but the motor and all the mechanism appears to work just fine after just a little bit of greasing. You know, no problems at all. Does not retract the whole way. Yeah, it does. This last little bit just kind of doesn't want to go back in, and you got to kind of give it a little push. But it seems to pop back out under its own juice just fine. Don't know about the PCB, but I think if I just leave that sticking up like another 2 inches and hook it back in, we should be able to tell easy peasy whether or not the PCB is fine. Again, do not know why there is a massive convoluted circuit board when it's, you know, could just be accomplished by like 2 limit switches and like 5 wires, but whatever. I'm not German, so anyway, I'll continue to fiddle with that, and I'll probably make it worse, but whatever, worth a shot. Alright, well, we absolutely made it worse trying to work it, so that's about as far in as it'll go now, at least as far as I trust it to go in. But whatever, I don't really care. So I think I'm going to go hook this back up and just see if it extends on its own. And if I can't get the switch on the dash to make that go up and down, then I think we're just going to buy a replacement. Or I'll just put a fixed antenna in, and then we won't have to worry about this. One of the two, but we're going to go throw that in real quick just to see if it goes up and down at all. Alrighty, that guy's just kind of jammed back in there. Let's go stick the key to the ignition and see if we get any, antenna movement action going on. Alright, here goes nothing. Seeing a whole lot of nothing. What happens if we turn the radio on? Does that send an auto signal? Still getting nothing. So that PCB is borked on top of the whole thing also being kind of borked. So I think I can hotwire that to just be like, I'll figure out which is hot and which is reversed hot, or if, hopefully that's how that works. Because just like with the dome light, maybe it's just that the PCB is for some other kind of weird, stupid German things, and that the actually has two wires running to it with reverse polarity. Because if so, I could just like switch between, or just hot wire straight into the motor. Just have the switch make motor go up, motor go down. I don't know, we'll see. I'll poke at that real quick. Alright, well, after probing around with the multimeter, regrettably it looks like we just have a continuous power line. It looks like this is like just a hot power, and it appears that this is the ground, the brown, and it looks like this is the red, and then it looks like we have a blue going here and a blue going here, and I don't know what's connected down there. I guess this red and white, because it looks like the red and yellow and the red both go down into that corner. So I guess the red and white goes down in here. But anywho, this appears to be the ground. If I stick the positive lead into here, if I put the antenna up, I get power from, or I have continuity from here at 12 volts here, but then at like 11 volts at these three. And then if I reverse it, I think it's just like 12 here and like 11 here. But sadly, we don't have a reverse polarity. So I can't just hotwire it, because I would only have up no matter which direction I switched it. So unless I could figure out how to wire in something that like flip-flops polarity whenever it gets a signal from one of these other wires, I don't think I could just jerry-rig this thing to go up and down. So we'll probably just buy a new one that's not a Hirschman for like $50 and throw it in here. Or if I can just find a like manual antenna that has that connection on it, we can just like fucking just bolt it right here and just have a straight connection, and then we could just have like a 3/8 contact up here, and we could just unscrew the antenna and chuck it in the car. Because I mean, if I can do that for like significantly less than like a $60 new antenna, then why not? But anywho, I'll keep thinking on it. Okay, so my plan to bypass all of this PCB and make something a lot simpler is to just make some spade connectors that plug into this, some male spade connectors, and then get about an 8-inch extension of wire for both, and then just fold this like that, and then just run the wires out of this natural hole in the bottom right here, and then just plumb that into a rocker switch, a reverse polarity rocker switch, and just stick that in the trunk. And if I want to put the antenna up, I just pop the trunk, put the antenna up. If I want to put the antenna down, I just pop the trunk and put the antenna down. It's simple. I mean, I have to, Lord forbid, I have to get out of the cab to extend my antenna, but that'll allow me to use all of this as is without any modification or damage to the original components. It's just simply disconnecting these two wires from the PCB, plug them through here, and I'll have a fuse switch, and it'll just pull power off, put power, and I'll be pulling power from, this constant and this ground. So it'll be on the exact same fuse, everything will be the same, except it'll just be this rocker switch that'll have plumbed into the trunk that runs the antenna, That's it. No other funny business. And that's going to be what we're going to do. And I'm probably going to need to buy a new antenna mast because I have boogered this one up, I think, beyond repair at this point. And they're like 20 bucks, so I'll get that if this harebrained idea works. I've just bought a rocker switch. That'll show up here in a couple weeks. If this harebrained idea works, we'll buy a new mast and we'll replace the mast. And that'll be the solution. Because I tried looking up how to do like an aftermarket antenna and just replace this with just a stick. And the Mercedes has like some really weird, funky antenna plug on it that I can't quite figure out. And it was going to be too much effort, too much money, and I was going to end up spending. And I also looked up the aftermarket antenna, and it's got some weird mounting mechanism and everything. And it was all going to end up costing like 50 to 60 bucks to do everything. And then I realized I just buy a switch and just hotwire this reverse polarity and just have the antenna go up with a switch in the back. That's the easiest out of anything, other than spending $200 on a rebuilt Hirschman antenna. So that's what we're going to do. So, all right, so here's kind of what I've done to bypass the PCB. So, see right here, I have just taken a forked spade connector, size whatever this is, I think like 18, and I have just taken a pair of diagonal cutters, just snipped off one side to make it a thin, sort of lopsided spade connector, and that actually fits perfectly into this factory connection. Then I've just crimped this onto this section of wire I have that's appears to be 20 gauge, and it's just got this factory spade connector harness on it, so we'll leave that, and if I figure out a cleaner way to do that, we'll just snip that off. But it just so happened to be the perfect gauge and the perfect length, and I already had and this guy down here will just take generic spade connector, so I just left it like that. And I have plumbed green into green and black into red, confusingly, and I just haven't trimmed those off yet. And I have stuffed the red one down in here just to take up a little bit of wire so that it's a little bit asymmetrical, so that I can put these two like this next to each other and they don't stack up on top of each other and get stuck. And what I'm going to do is just wrap each one of these, just one quick wrap in electrical tape just to keep them from shorting out. And then we will loom them up together, leave them like that, and just close the case down on it, and it'll sandwich them, and that won't cause any problems. It doesn't get in the way of anything. They'll stay right there, snug, pressed up by the top of the case. Won't get in the way of the gears. These will pop out the bottom of the case. No modification at all to the unit. All we did was unplug this from the motor and then plug these into the factory harness and then just run that out the bottom of the case where there was already a hole. So bam. And then I'm going to take this, and then this needs to plumb into the reversible rocker switch I bought. So we'll do that when that shows up. That should just be two spade connectors hooked into this guy. And then we will need to plumb into the factory harness. And I don't quite know what size these pins are up here. I'll get a measurement. And I think I've got some like heavy gauge copper wire that is hopefully the right size. And I should be able to get just like two little leads that are like just the right size that can fit into the plug in the back of the car. And we'll get them just the right length, mark them, and then like, I think I'll take some potting compound over here and we'll coat those. But before we do that, we'll solder them onto the rocker switch. So the rocker switch has like two little pins we can plug into the factory harness that are potted and isolated. I probably need to make some. I'll wrap the rest of the harness in electrical tape. And then the rocker switch will plug into this, and we'll have dedicated ground from the harness, dedicated hot wire from the harness, plumbed into the rocker switch, and then that'll plumb into this, and then we can go, polarity up, polarity down. It'll be clean and easy, and it'll cost me like $10. So let us wait for parts, and I'll continue tinkering. Also, if you're curious, this is the, radio speaker cigarette lighter, apparently, antenna circuit for the car, so study that. But this is basically what we're hooking up, is 2 to 6. Dedicated, constant hot wire to ground. And that's it. Alright, I changed the plan just slightly. I decided to shrink wrap these, and then I realized I got plenty of wire. So I just tucked them up here where they're way more out of the way, fit a lot better, and I can just plumb this wire right here along the body of this guy down into here. And yeah, that's a lot cleaner. It's a lot less likely to bounce around and move around. I was just lazy and I didn't cut the red things off because I didn't need them. And yeah, we'll just stuff these guys down in here next to the antenna. And bam, that's pretty slick. And then this can just be plumbed in the rocker switch, and the rocker switch can just be plumbed into the harness, or I can vampire tap onto the harness, and that's that. Pretty simple to bypass that PCB. You just have to, do the thing from the trunk. I guess technically I can actually, I can actually route that rocker up over the top of the fuel tank, run it up underneath the medkit tray, and have the rocker in the cab. I think I might do that. I have plenty of wire, so. Alright, so the next step to think on while I got time is I need something that I can plug into these, just individually, and then solder off a wire to those so that I can just plug into the wires I want, and then electrical tape this up and weatherproof it, and then tap that into the rocker switch, and then tap the rocker switch into that harness you saw that I had on the extension cable I wired into the radio antenna. So, if you're wondering, I just mic'd this out, and these pins are actually just a hair over 10 gauge wire, and this is a ground, so don't worry. If I plugged this guy right here into this pin, which is again ground, see, we're nice and firm. So that's 10 gauge wire. This is a piece of aluminum 10 gauge wire, I think. I think this came out of an underground high voltage cable that I found a 3-foot chunk and stole it out of a construction site. That fits beautifully into this, but I don't know how well I can solder copper to aluminum. We'll see if I can get something that'll work with this. I'm going to use that, but if it doesn't solder well to that, then we'll just use this copper wire, and I can just rough it up a little bit and just squeeze it around a little bit, rough it up some. And my thought is to get a 2-inch section and just kind of, get one end nice and straight, and then kind of do a little pigtail at the end, and then just wrap the sin out of it with a big chunk of wire, and just put a big fat glob of solder on it, and then we can just electrical tape all of this, and so we don't have any potential for a short, and we can just plug right into the harness, and we can pick whichever power we want, and we can do that with any of these harnesses on the car. So that will be a good solution to have just in the bag for future. And I'm thinking what I can do, because I just have easy access right there to the medkit box, is I can just route this wire from that guy and the one from there just right up into here, and I guess just zip tie it to the bottom of the car somewhere, and then just plumb it right up through the edge of the medkit box right there, or maybe up around, it'd be too hard to do it around the speaker, but I can just plumb it right up there, pop it right up there, and I can just reach back behind here to do the antenna. I think that's probably a decent compromise, because I could plumb it. My other thought was, if I couldn't plug into this harness, I was going to use that mystery cable over there, which is just hooked straight up to the fuse box, and use that. But I could, I might have to pull the seats out, so theoretically I could plumb all the way up under the seats into the center console, and then hot wire into the switch on the dash, but that's a lot of work. And we're trying not to do a lot of work. So I think we're just going to get it working here in the back, and then I'll have a little extension I can do. And I think final solution will be to, German puns unintended, that was a horrible joke, plumb it right up here underneath the bottom of the medkit. Alright, so here's the cobbled together wire I made to tap into the factory harness and then plumb into the reversible rocker switch. So as you can see, it's just like a 3-foot chunk of trailer harness, and I just have 18 gauge to 12 gauge spade connectors on either side. And then on this end, I took 2 sections of 10 gauge solid copper wire, and I just sort of shaped them into a sort of, I don't know what you would describe it, they're that shape. And I've just got them, soldered onto the end of the trailer harness. I just wrapped them. I just took the solid copper wire, cut a bunch of grooves in it with the wire strippers, and then just wrapped like an inch of the trailer wire around it and soldered the piss out of it and then shrink wrapped over it. And I've got those taped together, and I can just kind of squeeze them like that to adjust how close they are to each other. And so if we touch, make sure I don't short this out, put black into ground and white into constant hot, which is 6 and 2 on this harness, like that, then we should just have a hot wire. And so I have the voltmeter set up, and we will, if I can find my clips, clip over here onto ground, and then we will clip onto this one. And as you can see, constant 12 volts. So bam, easy peasy. And then we will just take this guy right here, and we will just wrap the piss out of that in electrical tape like that, so that it doesn't short out onto anything. And then we can just, I don't know, tuck this up somewhere where it'll confuse the hell out of the next person who finds this car after I die in a car fire or crash into a tree or something. And that'll just allow us to take this guy, and we'll have plenty of wire, and we can just run this right up behind this hinge, around the back of the speaker, up here, and underneath the back of the battery box, and just that out behind the seat. And then we'll just have a rocker switch laying on the back for whoever sits in the back seat to play with and set the car on fire. And that'll let us run the antenna up and down. And I also bought a grommet to go in there because I did realize that I needed that. And we're probably going to have to buy another mast, like I said. So we will have to spend some money on the antenna. That was $7. Mast is like 20, so we'll end up spending just under, oh, and the switch I'm buying is, I think it was $9 plus tax, so we'll just say $35, $40. Shit, I could just buy another antenna. But anywho, I have this cobbled together piece of garbage instead, and it's mine, and it's unique, and you can't have it. Alright, now we're on a different tangent. So after noticing the holes in, the back floorboard underneath the seat, I realized, I probably should extend the exhaust pipe since the muffler just kind of organically removed itself. I don't think I'm going to plug off that hole in the bottom of the pipe. I'm not really worried about that, but I'd rather not have all the exhaust at idle just dump out right underneath the body. So I think what I'm going to do is take the old muffler downtick pipe out, whatever you call it, tip, with the sort of mounting hooks and the bumper on it, and I'm just going to trim that flush to the back of the old, muffler cap, whatever it's called. I don't know anything about exhaust. And then we're just going to make like a little pipe that I can stick into the one side of the exhaust and then into the other side of the exhaust on the other side, and just kind of sandwich that down on there, get it where I want it, and then just like JB weld the piss out of it because I don't have a welder. Although I could probably just get somebody to weld it, but whatever. I'm not trying to make it a perfect seal. I would just like the majority of the exhaust gases to direct out the back of the car, and I'd also like to have some kind of second connection so I can put the other like muffler donuts on it, just so that I don't lose like one donut and have the whole exhaust fall on the road at 60 miles an hour. So that's the plan. The outside diameter of the factory exhaust pipe is 2 3/8. So came over here to my pipe pile, which is several sections of just pipe I have picked up off the side of the road, and also square tube I have picked up off the side of the road that have gotten mangled by drunk drivers. And this pipe right here is exactly 2 3/8, which is not what we want because we're trying to shove this into the pipe. Plus, this is like over an 1/8 inch thick, and that pipe just in and of itself weighs like 45 pounds. So we are not doing that. Now I need a 30-inch section because I want to jam the gap from front to back on the hangers is 29 inches, and the gap front to back on the inside of the muffler is like 24.5, 25 in there. So I'm looking for a 30-inch piece of pipe that I can just sort of jam 3 inches in one way, 3 inches in the other, and then just epoxy the hell out of it and potentially weld. Thing is, I'm not taking the original exhaust off. That's just a can of worms I do not want to get into. So we're not doing that. So I'm just trying to shove this into the back of the car while it's still on the car. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I'll just cut it off. But I found this pipe, which is very thin and is like the same wall thickness as the pipe that's on the car. And it's just a hair under 2 inches. It's like 1 15/16. or 1 and 30 seconds. No, 15/16. So we're going to attempt to use that. I think there's enough cankerage going on, and I can pack enough JB weld in there to take up the slack. Or I can probably get like some kind of flaring tool and, you know, just flare this out just a eighth, quarter of an inch and be able to take up the slop. We only need a little bit. And I think we might try and make that work. So I got plenty of pipe. This is like a damn near a 6-foot pipe, although it's kind of beat up down there. So we got 4 foot to play with. So I think we can get 2 attempts out of this once I clean this like rock solid foam off of it. And we'll be able to extend the exhaust a little bit. You know, kind of secure it. And I think while I'm under there, I'll probably put one of the clothes hangers back on it, just to be extra certain. And then we don't have to worry about the exhaust just like dumping all of it directly into the cap until that front bend right underneath the flex joint gives, which I'm sure will give like very soon. And then we'll just redo the whole damn exhaust. Oh yeah, just look at that. It's a little loose. I probably need to shim that or something, but that's what I'm going for. And then I'm basically just gonna cut it so that it lines up with these mounts that you can't really see back in here. And I can stick the old tip back on there, and we're just gonna cut all the old muffler bullshit off of it. But we are gonna leave this guy back here because it's fairly solid. And I think instead of JB welding, or I can probably get the tip welded on, but that's kind of neither here nor there. I think I might be able to make like some kind of straps or something that I can like run out like this, like self-tapper to this, or I guess just run straight bolts through and then, you know, clamp down on either side, have some straps come out like this, run the pipe in, and then clamp off to the straps to hold it in place. And then we'll plumb it full of probably exhaust RTV with a little cap of JB weld or something like that. And then I don't think this has enough meat left on it, but we may be able to just cut that whole dish off and then just like slide a clamp over. I think I might have enough meat that I can just cut right there and then just get a little clamp guy on there, which would be nice. But I'd rather not do that if possible, just because I'm sure I'll fuck it up. Oh no, that's got plenty of steel, so we can clamp to that. So that's probably what we'll do, is a little strap guy, and hope for the best. But you know, it's not going to seal because wherever it is, we got that guy going on. Don't know what I'll do about that. Wonder if I can just get like a chunk of metal, some exhaust, like just take this pipe, flay it back a little bit, cut out like a third of it, flay it back a little bit, pop it over it, clamp it on, put 2 hose clamps and a whole bunch of exhaust RTV and just onto that. We'll see. I mean, I don't really care, so it is what it is. I'll try and get stainless steel hardware for everything at the very least, because I know the non-stainless will just explode. So yeah, we'll see, but that's my general thought. All right, well, we got the remains of the muffler over here in the vise, and I've got the portable death wheel, and we're just going to basically zip everything off in front of this, you know, rear plate. Just bzz, like, I'm not gonna fiddle with all these little bits over here, probably. Well, I'm thinking I'm gonna have to get to it, but I'm just basically gonna cut this off, like everything past a 1/2 inch from right there, and then I can measure whether or not I can fit the other pipe in there, get everything sized up, cut to length, whatnot, notch this up here, and be ready to go. All right, well, the car mats are back in the trunk because we're using the rubber ones. 2 of them are still drying out. This has been trimmed nice and flush, so I think I'm gonna get the 10 snips or something and trim the last little bits off of there, or the angle grinder, all depends. And I also have the antenna in here, and I've got that plumbed into the factory harness, and then I have got this just kind of alligator clipped together, and I need to not let these touch each other, but it's very hard to do this one-handed. And hopefully if I touch this guy to this guy, that guy will go that ways. So here we go. It's working. So if I just reverse polarity, then hopefully I can get that to retract a little bit. And yeah, then I think I'm gonna pull this guy inside, and I believe what I can do is loosen this right here and just press the extend and just have the whole mass just out the top of this thing, and I can soak that in liquid wrench for a couple days, and maybe, just maybe, we can get that free, but I have very, very, very not high hopes. But man can dream. So, yeah, I will look into that, and I think I'm going to go trim exhaust and cut that to length. And yeah, I'm just going to do like 4 things simultaneously and forget half of it. Also, on top of that, Mom came through for me, and she actually had this big-ass canvas drop cloth. There is a cockroach in my fucking car. Do you mind, like, dying or something? Anywho, she has this big-ass canvas drop cloth, which is, like, the perfect material that I'm looking for, that she bought 15 years ago to fix a couch, and then we bought a new couch. So it's just been sitting, like, laying around collecting dust. And I think I can just cut like 2 4-foot by 6-foot sections, and then trim that up and make individual covers for each seat, and then one big ass one with an inlet in the middle to go over the back. And I should hopefully be able, I already disconnected the seat again, I should hopefully be able to just take like the cloth and just like stuff it around or down into this seam right here. And I might even be able to pull it out through the bottom and then just kind of just wrap the seat, and then just kind of, I don't know, I'll work. If I can find our a pack of grommets somewhere or something, I'll make grommets, make it into a little tarp or something, and just kind of tie it together underneath. And then we'll do the same for the back, but I'll have to do some kind of hemming or something and tie it up. We'll do something a little fancier for the back. I think since the back is kind of just bolted to the seat, I might be able to just kind of just stuff it behind it, and then just bolt it, and then just like jam the seat in and not even have to do anything fancy. But we'll have to do some kind of wrap for the seats, because I expect these will come in and out again in the future. But that's the other thing I'm working on simultaneously. Also, I got a beer. Arrogant bastard. That's good. I don't know why they decided to make them in tall boys, but I fucking love you, Stone. Alright, well, we're focusing on exhaust for the moment, so I just came in here with the 10 snips and just trimmed that up a little bit, so that's good enough for what I'm trying to do. Didn't even need to use the death wheel. So, basically, the plan is to drill... Well, I don't know why I'm showing you... Let me go show you on the bench with the other one. Okie dokie, well, here's what I'm thinking. Also, sorry about the light, but I can't fucking see anything either, so get over it. So here is that 2-inch pipe that I pulled out of the shed. I also found a 2 3/8 piece of what looks like brand new like exhaust pipe over there. You can't see that shit, but over here in yonder pile, which is my backup, this thing. I think this is fucking stainless steel exhaust pipe. I have no idea where the hell it came from, but it's like 5 foot of it. So that's 2 3/8. That's the exact size of the Mercedes. So that is the backup. But I think I've already got this plan worked out, and I already have an idea of how it's going to work. So even though we're downsizing to 2-inch over 2 3/8, I don't care. I mean, a straight pipe, even if it's a 2-inch straight pipe, is still an improvement over a 2 3/8 muffler. And not having exhaust gases in the cab. Also, this thing is not exhaust limited, so, like, who the fuck am I kidding? I don't care. But we're going with a 2-inch pipe. What I've done is I've just taken this pair of channel locks, just rounded over one end, and I've marked another end to cut, and we're just going to slide this guy right down in onto there, like that, and then kind of hammer it in place, and then that cutout down in there will just allow the exhaust to flow a little bit smoother out of there, and that round part allows this to sit just a little bit deeper down. I think that's as far as I'm going to go with it. And then what we're going to do is slather the piss out of that with Ultra Copper RTV, and then we're going to drill, well, I guess before we do the piss slathering, drill a hole right here, a 5/16, and a hole right here, 5/16, and these plates are like 1/8 inch thick. So I got plenty of meat, even if they are kind of rusty and cankered up. But drill a 5/16 hole through there, and then I bought some 5/16 stainless steel bolts, and we will run them through like that. And I've got this slab of stainless steel that I pulled off of this thing I found And I think what I'm going to do is cut this, like just cut strips off of this, and then fold them over, like cut like 1 inch strips, and then fold like 2 inches over here that I can lay right in on here like that, run the bolt through this guy, through that, and then have it run up on the side of the pipe like that, bend the tip over just like that. And then Dad came through for me. He actually had a whole pile of 2 1/4 inch exhaust clamps, brand new in-box vintage muffler clamps, because he put side pipes on the Corvette, and so he doesn't need any of the muffler clamps anymore for the factory exhaust, so he just had a pile of them, and that fucking worked out awesome, because we need 2 1/4. Might need to shim it a bit, or I'm just gonna clamp the hell out of it, because it's a 2 inch pipe, and I don't believe this is, oh no, that's close to 1/8, that'll work. And so all that's, so I've got 5 inches of fucking pipe in here. So it's not like, I just want it to stay on, centered in the pipe, and we're gonna have donuts on either end, so it's not like it can really go anywhere, but I just want it to not fall off, because I want this as a backup to hold the exhaust on, and I don't want the pipe to walk out, fall off, and I drop the whole fucking exhaust system on the road. So I want this as a backup, and also to direct the majority of the exhaust gases out behind the car, because I think we're not able to see any of the chooch because it's just getting dumped underneath the car. I don't know if this is going to be the correct fucking angle at all, but don't care again. And yeah, I think it was 29 inches or whatever the metric approximate equivalent is. It was like 29 1/4 or something from center of hook to center of hook on the car. And I was able to jam this pipe exactly 4 inches into the other side of the exhaust. So we're going to cut this, I think we're going to cut it close to 29 inches. I got to go back and measure the hook to, I think it was a 2 inch lip over there. So we've got, oh, and this pipe stops right at the end of this hanger, like right dead center. So from here to 29 inches plus 2. So I think we need to cut this into a 31 inch section. So what I'm going to do is cut it right here at this tape that was already there, which is 36 inches, and then that'll give me about a 4 to 5 inch section at the end, and we're going to use that to band-aid the hole in the exhaust. I actually went to O'Reilly's tonight trying to find a, like, one of those clamp-on, like, built-in gasket, like, exhaust clamp guys. They said they had them in stock, and the fucking exhaust repair section was just an absolute jumbled mess, and they actually didn't have any. So I couldn't get one. So that means we're going to jury-rig it instead. And I actually bought some hose clamps today, because I didn't think we had any exhaust hangers. And turns out we have exhaust hangers. So we'll just throw 2 of these guys, probably these crusty ones, onto the back. And then what we'll do is we'll cut a section of this pipe. This is 2 inch, so it may not work. So I might go get a section of that pipe over there. And what we'll do is we'll cut a 4 inch section, and then we'll flay it in half, so we have a like channel like that. And we'll slather the inside of that in RTV, slap it on the bottom of the exhaust, put the 2 clamps on it, pinch them down, and that should seal-ish that off. Again, we are not trying to stop an exhaust leak. We are just trying to make the majority of the exhaust come out of here. That's all I'm trying to do. This is not going to be sealed. Like, it's a straight pipe. Doesn't matter. I just want most of the exhaust fumes to come out of here. And it's not so bad because it's a diesel. So, you know, I'm not getting, like, super monoxide poisoned like I would be in a gas car. But still, it's just ideally would like it to come out at the end. Also, I like having the exhaust tip sticking out and all that stuff. And I want that out of the fucking trunk because I need the trunk room. Anyway, I'm going to shut the fuck up and start working on this thing. Alright, well, I cut her to length, and you see that's what I'm trying to go for here. Is, you know, just get from point A to point B, and if we take a little bit of a detour, you know, along the way off into the atmosphere, no harm, no foul. So I just rough cut that to 32 inches, and just jammed it in there. I gave it a little bit of a bend, sort of on this side up a bit, just like that, just to make way for this bend in the pipe. And then that one, you saw what I did. I folded it on top, and then I cut a V on the bottom. So, yeah, that's looking pretty good. That only sticks in about 2 inches, so I'm not worried about notching that or anything. Sorry, that one sticks in 4 inches. So there we are. That's pretty bang on. So what we're going to do now is wiggle that back on out, and then we will make brackets and clamp all of this up. And once we know how that works, we will do the same for that. And I will come under here, drill the holes, get the little brackets on there, get it ready, and then it will just be a matter of sliding those exhaust clamps on, clamping the fuck out of them. And all those clamps are doing is, and you throw some RTV in there as well. And all those clamps are doing is they're just keeping this pipe attached to this. They're not sealing. I'm not trying to make them seal. I just want them to make this pipe physically connected to the exhaust and make that tailpipe physically connected to this pipe so that neither of them just sort of fall apart and plop onto the road. But it's in there, this one is not so tight back here, but this guy it wants to stick. So we'll just kind of shimmy that guy back on out, like so. And we will get to fiddling with this. Alright, well, it looks like stainless steel does not play nice with the angle grinder. So just burned up 2 cutoff discs. That was the one that's been on that thing since I bought it. That one I just put on it to make the last 4 cuts. And this isn't even 1/8 inch. So yeah, chromium is very abrasive. It's not hard. Well, there's a lot of chromium in stainless steel. Stainless steel is not hard, but it is abrasive. And yeah, there's a lot of chromium in this too. Don't breathe that, kids. That's why I have one of these on. That'll kill you. Very poisonous. So I'm just going to sweep that into the yard. Anywho, we are making progress on the brackets. And yeah, hopefully just... Oh God, that is blowing that everywhere. We're just going to drill 5/16 holes in the ends of all of them, except for this one that conveniently already had a hole in the right place. And then we're going to bend those over at about 1 inch, 1 1/4 inch in, and that'll give us just a hair over 4 inches to extend up onto the pipe. And I'm going to bend it, at a slight angle so it gets around this. So that means we can put our clamp right about there. We'll fold over the last 1/2 inch or something like that. And that should be fairly easy. Now that I've jinxed it, we'll have lots of problems. Okie dokie, so we got one end of it done. There we are. So basically just bent the brackets up, and then I think when I do the one on the part that's on the car, I'm just going to go straight and then just put a little tick. I'm just going to pre-bend them. Drilled a 3/8 hole through the bracket, 3/8 hole through the muffler. Just squeeze it down on there. Slathered the hole into the pipe in ultra copper, shoved it in there, and then we just took a 2 1/4 exhaust clamp and just clamped that down on there, and I ain't going anywhere. So we're just going to do that on the other side, and then we can put on the other set of donuts, and that'll be good to go. We'll let it cure for 24 hours, and then fire up the car. And again, this is not supposed to seal the exhaust. I'm mostly using the RTV just to glue everything together. But I'm going to crawl under the car now. Well, I'll pre-bend those, crawl under the car, shove all of this stuff up in there, mark, drill, or pull this back out, pull this back out, drill those, slide it all back in, bolt these down, just RTV the shit out of that, stuff it back in there, bolt the exhaust hanger in, and we should be good to go. Hopefully, maybe. Alrighty, well that's done. And I even got the donuts in. Look at that. That's the most complicated straight pipe 3-foot section anyone has ever done, probably. But that's rock solid. Sure, it leaks like a sieve, but it puts a tailpipe out right there, and I can use the factory hangers. And yeah, only cost me a tube of RTV and like, I don't know, it was like fucking $8 worth of damn stainless steel hardware. But nonetheless, reused Corvette exhaust clamps, homemade stainless steel brackets, old pipe I pulled out of the ground somewhere. I didn't even need the RTV, honestly. I just did it just to be extra certain. Yep, look at that. That is a thing. Now, next thing we're gonna have to tackle is that hole right there in the exhaust. And it's not really a major thing, but I think what I can do is go find that 2 3/8 pipe and just cut a 4-inch section off the end of it, and then just slice that in half lengthwise. And I'll just have a 2 3/8 channel like that. We'll just flare it out a little bit, slather the piss out of it in RTV, plop it up in there, take 2.5-inch exhaust clamps, clamp it the fuck down, and that'll be the end of it. Would have liked to use just one of those, like, just clamp on ones from the hardware store. Would have been a lot less effort, but they were out of stock, so this is what we're going to do. And it's like 11 o'clock, but I think I can go get that done in about 30 minutes, so we shall make an attempt. Alright, well, this is kind of hard to film while being underneath the car. I'm like holding this fucking phone like a damn dagger. But anywho, there's the patch I made. I just basically cut a half-size chunk, 4 inches out of the end of that stainless steel 2 3/8 pipe, and thankfully it was under some kind of like a outward tension, so it just sprung out, and now it is the exact perfect diameter. I just pushed it right up onto there, and yeah, we are just going to stuff that full of RTV, slap it right back up on there, and I'm actually going to use these hose clamps I bought, if they're long enough, because I just feel like the exhaust clamps are kind of overkill, and plus I don't have all that much clearance between the diff and the exhaust. I'm sure that'll hit and bang, so, you know, this is just holding in the exhaust gases. It is not structural in any way, so I'm fine using the exhaust, or the hose clamps. I don't even know if those are stainless steel. I assume they're stainless steel. Probably aren't. But yeah, hopefully they have enough, you know, diameter to get around it, and I will do that real quick. Alright, well, that's probably good enough. So we will let this cure overnight, and then if I remember to, we won't start it up until like the day after next. Probably won't. Probably start it up 12 hours from now. But yeah, we'll give that a chance to cure. And maybe we'll be having Chooch coming out the back now. Well, there she is the next morning. Still attached. Hadn't fallen off. Haven't looked at the patch though. I guess I take a quick look. Well, all looks to still be there. Man, that's one of those things that's just, you know, it looks like ass, but it was so satisfying to do, because it was literally, I thought about the exhaust. Like, I woke up, came out here, looked at the exhaust, saw it, went, oh, I bet I can fix that with this, that, and that. And then went out to the garage, found a perfectly shaped pipe, got all the measurements, went in the office, my downtime, just looked up everything I would need, did some quick math, sketched some stuff out, drove to the hardware store on the way home, came back, started working, and I was done at 11:30, and it was just all then and there, just done, you know, one into the other. Whole idea came together, didn't run into any roadblocks, had all the materials I needed, and it just went bam, 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 right together. And that is probably the most satisfying job you can ever do, especially when it's something that is like totally non-critical, that has like basically, like, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and you can just redo it or do something else or ignore it, and there's like no stakes. Ah, man. Those kind of like jury-rigging hack jobs are just the most satisfying things to work on. Anywho, we popped the mast out of the antenna, and I've got it just shoved down here in this dirty Guinness bottle, and I'm going to fill this up like that far with liquid wrench and squirt it down in the back of the shaft, and we're just going to let this sit until the grommet and the rocker switch show up, and then hopefully we can jimmy all that stuff out. And if we can't, then I'm just going to grab the measurement here, right here, and I'll know what size antenna mast to buy, and then I will order one. Actually, we probably won't wait that long. I don't know how long it's going to take the grommet to get here, but I would kind of like to get this done sooner rather than later. So I may just be impatient and only wait like a day and then hop online and buy a mast. Just because I want it done. I don't know why I'm rushing. I just want it done because I want the antenna out of my room, I guess, because it smells like liquid wrench. But anywho, I'm going to work on that real quick. I have very low hopes, but we'll see. At the very least, I can put the thing back in with the old mast and it'll be partially functional. And maybe one day it'll pop free, but probably not because I boogered the fuck out of it. Okay, well, I got a little impatient, so I just pulled the thing right back out, and I was really hoping I could just fill the thing back up from the end with liquid wrench, but there's a little plastic plug in there that keeps this pigtail in place, and I don't think I can pull it out, and I'm not going to try. You know, I don't know how it's affixed in there. It looks to be glued, so we're not going to mess with that. I can spray a little bit of liquid wrench down this tail, but it's not enough that I can get it, because I want to get it on this lip back here so that it runs down in between the outer two pieces. So anyway, I can't do that. So what I've decided to do is just hit this thing with a propane torch, get it, you know, just toasty, and then just drip liquid wrench down onto this so that it hopefully will work its way down in here and break everything up. Because I can't just dunk the thing in liquid wrench. Well, I guess I could, but I'd waste my whole can, and I only got one can, and I'm sure I'm going to need it this weekend. But I have freed up all of this. This is now nice and smooth. And this guy's, we can't see because it's down there, but that's nice and smooth. Oh, and when I'm heating it up, I have the thing all the way in because this pigtail is plastic. But it's connected to the bottom of this guy. So I'm only heating up like the top 2/3 because the pigtail is like down here. So I'm just heating up this part so I don't melt the pigtail, and I'm not getting it red hot. I'm just getting it to the point where the liquid wrench starts to smoke, and I can see it go blip, blip, blip and bubble out between the two layers. And then I stop, then I spray it, and every couple of times I rotate it. And I just tried to beat the thing out, and I started pulling the like copper like stop band for this one out from inside of this, so it's pretty damn stuck. So I think what I'm going to do is just stick it back in the Guinness bottle and then just leave it. And if everything else shows up, we will just have a short antenna, and we will get over it because it doesn't really matter. But that's mostly all working pretty kind of almost well. Okay, well, in the interim, I have gotten the rear seat out, and the foam looks to be in really good shape, except for that. Ignore that. But, you know, the back of this looks just fine. Nothing is particularly rusty. You know, it is rusty, but it's, you know, not rusty. The only thing that's really wrong with these seats is they've just been heat cooked, and they're like, you know, the consistency of like milk plastic now. So, yeah, they just needs to be wrapped to just, you know, contain all of this stay. And the back of the seat looks just fine. No meese damage, so it's good. Yeah. Also, the build sheet fell off of the back of the seat when I was pulling it out, and it is still 100% legible. So we have that, which will be nice. I'm not going to show you the whole thing because I'm lazy. It's in German and in code, so can't read it. I already like deciphered the VIN too, so I have that. But regardless, good to have that. Good to find that. Good to know that's still in good shape. But I'm basically just going to make. I need to stop picking at stuff. Make a skin for this and just wrap it, and then I might be able to just kind of like inlet around this guy. I think I'm just going to leave some flaps in the middle. I'm going to make it a little bit long and then take a section in the middle and just kind of like fold it over into itself into a little 3-ply area and like sew that, and then have a slit in the middle, and I can just take, you know, the rest of the fabric and just jam it back around here, lip it up over here, and then just like, I still got to figure out some way to attach it. I think I'm just going to like poke holes, maybe grommet the cloth, and then just kind of just tie it all together like that, just so that it stays in place. I'm not trying to get it taut. I'm not trying to get it fancy. I mean, it's going to look like a murder machine, but at least there won't be exposed foam on the back seat, which is potentially an upgrade. Alright, so while the seat's out, I am tracing the mystery wire. Hey look, roach egg case. I'm tracing the mystery wire just to see another roach egg case. Anyway, to see, you know, where hell it goes, and that, you know, pretty predictable, just runs underneath the floor. Over there, up there to the fuse box, so we'll just leave that. But here's that other non-standard wire I was concerned about. It looks like that goes up into this fucking panel right here. So I wonder if that's going to the sunroof. It's not the factory wiring, that's for certain, but it's like, it runs up into here somewhere. So, I don't know what the fuck that's about. I might go look up how to take that panel off and see what the fuck that's tapping into. Because it's going somewhere up into this. And we know, and we have a hard ground, you know, right here. So it's not a ground wire. But, I don't know. Maybe there's like a... Oh, if it was a bag phone, it needed an antenna. So I wonder if there's like a fucking like... Well, no, they could have just tapped into that antenna, but they clearly didn't. I wonder if there's like a, you know, like coil antenna or something shoved up in here. I don't know how well it would do underneath a fucking steel roof, though. That's strange. I don't know what that wire is trying to accomplish. But the plot thickeneth. Alright, well that took me 4 goddamn hours, but we got that done. Plans had to take a slight detour. Turns out that this thing runs in a track the whole length, so I wasn't able to just kind of fold in the fabric and tie it off. But it still somehow works pretty decently, as is, with just the fabric kind of jammed up in there. Kind of self-tightens. And yeah, it looks like a murder machine. But I don't care. Okay, so the way that this is secured is I basically just took some string and poked some holes and tied it to... Thankfully, I had the foresight that I left a hem the whole way around on this. And this is, by the way, 8.5 foot by like 45 inches. Because that just happened to be the whole like short length of the drop cloth. And then it was sectioned into like 3 45-inch sections with hems in between. So I just preserved the hem on one section, and that worked out perfectly because I was able to tie off to the hem like this and not rip the fabric. And I just kind of torqued it all down like that. And yeah, that's fairly firm. And hopefully we don't have so much meat in here. This corner's probably going to be some kind of issue maybe. Not so much that one. And I just poked through the, you know, brackets on the corners. No idea whether or not that's going to cause clearance issues or not, but we will find out. I don't think it will. And that'll just all get snugged up. I think I'm just going to screw straight through this on that one. And yeah, I guess I'm going to go throw this in the car and see if it fits. And if it does, then we will work on the seats now. Alright, well that is in, and I mean, you can't tell me that if your Uber pulled up with, you know, like a fucking 1-star motel bedbug-ridden swallowed a gnat back seat cover, you wouldn't, you know, hop in that car and tip them an extra $20 and or call the police. So yeah, the Fitment is actually a lot better than I thought, but it also looks a lot fucking uglier than I thought. But we're just gonna roll with it. So it's raining now. And I'm gonna go work on the seats. Get this gnat out of my larynx. Alright, well, seats are done. That only took me an hour and a half. A lot easier. I just took the center console out, folded it over, pressed it down, pulled it taut, and I threaded this main tension through that tunnel so that it doesn't bind things up. And then fit is not quite as good, but it's actually better than it looks. I am a little worried. I've made cutouts for the buttons down here, but I'm kind of worried that there might be a little bit too much extra material on the front in some spots, particularly like over here on the corners. And it was already tight getting these buttons to latch, and especially getting them undone. I'm a little worried we might bind up a bit, but I think it'll be fine. I don't know about you, but that interior just screams sexual deviant. which is not the look I'm going for, but whatever. We'll take it. That is, in fact, a look. It's somewhere in between I'm homeless and eat possums, and I'm a convicted sex offender. One of the two. Not quite certain which side it's leaning. It might just be an even mix of both. I don't think the two are mutually exclusive. But anywho, I think that's all the interior work this car is ever going to see in its miserable life. So we'll call it good. Alright, so got the rocker switch in. As you can see, it is a 6-pole reverse polarity momentary dual position rocker switch. It's 20 gauge rated. Probably got a little bit too big of wire gauge for my butt connectors, but just nothing, a little bit of extra torque can't handle. And so we will be wiring that up green to black, as is tradition. Green to red to blue to black. Yeah, very standard, perfectly to code. And what I'll be doing is plumbing this guy right up over to there, and I think I'm going to build some kind of like cradle or something to hold it. Like, I'm just going to wrap the piss out of this in electrical tape for the moment, just so it doesn't short itself out to the carpet. But I feel like I should probably build some kind of something to house this a little bit, because it's going to be sticking out like that. Maybe I can just put it in the medkit box. Yeah, we'll see. But I guess for now, we'll just leave it in the trunk. But that's going to be my plan, is to try and route it so that it sticks up out just like cut a little notch in the medkit box so it just sticks up all, pretty like that. Okay, so I'm giving up on trying to free this. As far as I can tell, it is a lost cause. I think I am only going to make things worse. So I think we're just going to live with the antenna being like 10 inches shorter. I don't think I'm going to care at all. And if it bothers me sometime in the future for some reason, I'll just buy another one for $20, and then we will replace that. It's actually fairly easy to replace the antenna mast. It's literally just you unscrew this guy, and then you just run the antenna on with continuous power, and it's out the top. It's also easy to put it back. So I have everything butt connected up, and I'll tape all these up. I just have to mark which side is, up and which side is down. Probably shouldn't be touching those. And if we're lucky, I think I might need 2 hands, but I'm just going to feed this guy back in, run it back all in, tighten it all up, run it down, and then we just have to wait on the grommet and put the antenna back in. Alrighty, so the way that I currently have everything wired, this side, the reversed side, is up, which I have marked up. I'll put some white China marker on here too. So this is down, and if I drop this, then we can do this and just suck the antenna right up on in there. And I should probably feed that by hand the last little bit, but you get the drift. Alrighty, so just a little bit more lube, since the liquid wrench pretty much melted everything else off of there. And if you see, I would call that a success. And it even goes down all the way with a little bit of struggle. But it comes back up pretty good, which is kind of the less important thing, but nonetheless. Yeah. I'd say that's probably good enough for as terrible as the sound system is. I don't think the loss of signal is going to kill us. Alright, well, I was walking by the car, and we had a heavy downpour last night, and all the fucking double back tape is like, it's like halfway peeling off the chrome for some fucking reason that I don't understand. Well, it came off the plastic there, it came off the chrome there, and it's, I'm just pissed. So, we're gonna fucking self-tapper it to the car, and I don't give a shit. Like, hot damn. I mean, we'll just run, 2 in right there in the obvious place. And I think we're just going to go 1 there, and 1 right here on the corner. So we'll just put 6 self-tappers in this bumper, and call it fucking good. And I'm done with fucking with this. That was a giant waste of $14 fucking dollars. God, buy 3M. Whenever you buy anything that's an adhesive, 3M or Loctite. Like, just don't fucking bother wasting your money. Like, I know Scotch is a name brand, but Good God, their name ain't worth shit. Okay, that's done. Fought more than it should have. Kind of fits the rest of the car. We'll put some rivets somewhere, then it'll match, and it'll look correct. Oh, Lord. Remember, kids, if you don't break 2 drill bits and you're not using chrome 1/4-inch drive to run your self-tapping sheet metal screws into solid steel, you're not doing it right. Alright, have I killed the battery? Let's find out. Oh yeah. Alright. Let's take a listen to that exhaust. Well, it smells like exhaust. And it's coming out of there, so... Ooh, yeah, that... Ugh. Chunks coming out. Well, it vibrates. Has to be expected. Guess I'm gonna go run her, get her up temp, and see if any of that falls off or not. Charge the battery, whatnot. Well, here's how she sounds all warmed up at idle. Like, somehow it's quieter? It's not a muffler, it's just a straight pipe. All I did was put 3 foot of pipe back on it. But somehow, it's a little bit quieter? I mean, the engine's still, you know, doing its diesel thing without any, you know, sound deadening. But it seems a little bit quieter. I don't know how well it sounds, you know, flooring it, but we'll give it a go. Huh. But it really quieted down the exhaust somehow. Interesting. Okay, so this big jug of rust remover gel I had just like exploded for some reason, and it just blew a hole in the side, so I only used like 10% of it, so I had to go waste all of it. But with the last little bit, I realized, oh, why don't I just slather it on the floorboard of the Mercedes and see how well that works as a, you know, rust stopper, at least temporarily. So I've just slathered it all over the rear floorboard. We'll let that dry out. And yeah, I dumped it on a wheelbarrow that was super rusty yesterday, and it seems to be working. So here's that wheelbarrow, and I mean, it leaves a crust, but it does, you know, convert the rust into black oxide. So it does work. So, I mean, I think it's better than nothing, or it won't be. I don't know. We'll see. Time will tell. Okay, so real quick, well, it's not going to be quick. I decided to pull this tape off just to, one, replace it because it's gone and needs to come off. And just to figure out what the hell I would need to do for a patch panel on these things, and I think we might be past the point of a patch panel. So the reason why these rotted out is because this is a not particularly great drain design that they came up with for the, you know, the sunroof. So there's drains for the sunroof. There's one on each corner. In the front, it comes down here and drains out into this thing, and you saw how terrible an idea that was, and both of these are rusted out. And on this side, it's the exact same thing, except it comes out and it drains right here into this sluice, and then shoots down in here, comes out. Not that bad of a design, except they left this big-ass fucking covey hole up in here for some reason, and that fills with leaves, and so this sits here, and then that rots out. And it's the same story on both sides. I popped the cherry over here and broke through the steel, but the sluice in here is actually still intact. So I think we can get away with just a patch panel over here. Just a sticker maybe, just like that. And that should be fine. I mean, this is entirely aesthetic right here. This actually does not go into the cab. This is all just right here, just behind this panel. And it goes into this sluice. So this one, as far as I can tell, between all of the pointy metal bits, is still intact. So we could just leave that like that, and I think I actually may just leave it like that, because it'll actually make it drain better and air out more, and probably rust less. This one, however, this goes straight here into the cab, you know, right into that pillar. So that is a no-go there. And that runs up to just about there, just about here. So we just have this little crescent-shaped hole right here that needs to be filled. And there was a chunk of seam sealer in there that was doing most of that. It was sitting right here, but I just broke it off cleaning the rust out. Just something to keep the water out of here, I'm thinking. And if you haven't realized, we're at the point of me not giving a shit. Hence, you know, all of that going on in there. But yeah, I'm gonna think on that real quick. Just seal that up, keep rain out. Alright, so I decided I really don't care, and I have just PL3X'd a chunk of Pi-10 in there. And yeah, also I realized that the cab is not sealed. Like, there is actually, right up here, there's just big ass openings that go up into the sunroof. So that's very interesting to me, and I don't know if this is actually in the cab down here. I assume it is, which is why I even bothered to do that, but it might actually be going down in like the wheel well or something. I don't know. I think it's going in the cab, honestly. But we have just done that and slathered the hell out of that. And PL3X is not caulk, but we'll see if it decides to become it. I think I might take this other piece of Pi-10 and just do one of like these. Stick it on there like that, make it look like, you know, it's some sort of weird part of the trim or something like that. Probably not. That's effort. But that was kind of going to be my thought if this wasn't going down into the cab, is I was just going to make some aluminum patch panels and try and, you know, match the angles and the curves and stuff and put it in here and kind of make it look like this sort of weird trim piece. And then I realized it was fucking blown out going into the cab, so then that went out the window. And I also realized that this here is not going into the cab. So it's honestly better if I leave it like that, other than the, you know, UV deterioration on the PL. And I think I'm going to leave this one because it's solid. And I just sprayed some of that rust remover I had just in there as well, just for added assurance. It's not a protective coating, but black oxide is better at not rusting than normal rust, so it's tiny improvement. Yeah, that looks terrible, but I think we're gonna leave that, let that cure in the sun here. It's supposed to rain tonight, so we'll see whether or not that disintegrates or not. And if it disintegrates, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Spray foam, probably, just a little bit of spray foam, and then maybe Bondo or something, or do this again after we spray foam, then put a patch on it. We'll see, but I kind of want to leave it like that, just open, so that water has two ways out and the leaves also don't bunch up as much. And yeah, it'll just goes with the rest of the car. Alright, so we got everything out of the trunk and both wheel well covers, and I'm just in here to assess the rust and also clean everything out, you know, just get us a baseline. Rust is not as bad as I expected. I mean, it's not good over here. Oh, okay, yeah, it's about as bad as I expected. So, you know, probably need to do something about that. Just a little bit. But it looks like someone's already been in here and they've already taken the drains out. So, yeah, a little soft, but all just kind of cosmetic. So I think all we really need to do is just throw some hardware cloth down in here, just keep rats out. And I will call that good. But, yeah. Ooh, yeah, she's soft over here. But I'm just going to vacuum all that out. We already have a piece of something that sits over this guy right here, so no worries there. But the plot thickeneth again. So this is right back over here where all of that stuff is, and as you can see, there are actually holes through the carpet that go into this back panel behind the gas tank, and someone has pulled all of the upholstery, or pulled the upholstery through the tacks, cut them off. So something was mounted right there, and it was all wired to that, and I don't know what the hell it was. And someone has been back in here before because someone has broken all the plastic clippy guys off of this dude who held this down for this wire, but it doesn't look like anybody's been in the harness, so I don't know what that's about. And I still don't know why there is a second, like, factory washer bottle in here, because as far as I can tell, it's not broken. But it's just been in the trunk the whole time. So, yeah. It seems to be a replacement part. The old one holds fluid just fine, so don't know what that's about. But I'm going to clean all this up, and then I'll leave the wheel wells out so I can put the antenna in, which will hopefully I'll have my grommet to put it in tomorrow. And I think I'm just going to not mess with the sunroof, like, at all. I'm just going to leave the caulk in unless the caulk decides to disintegrate, then I'll play around with it. But with everything going on over here and the stuff I'm patching, I really don't want to introduce any more options to water to get in the car, and we already know things are already going awry in that general, front, so probably not best to play with fire there. So I am going to get to cleaning. Okay, status update. Turns out she's actually a lot worse than I even expected, so oof. Yeah, so I did make the right decision then of deciding I don't care anymore, because it's about a perfect example, because I ain't doing fucking floor pans in this damn thing, especially on the rear. So I think something's going to have to be done about this eventually, because it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. But I don't really think this is structural, so it's not like a huge deal, although it would be nice not to lose my spare tire. But I think for the time being, we're just going to ignore it for now. And I'm just going to waste my good hardware cloth and just make a mat down for the inside of this just to keep the mice out. Like, there is no way I'm going to be able to get this thing waterproof, what with the tires. So I'll just have to make sure not to drive it in the rain. Probably shouldn't be doing that anyway, but yeah, I am not going to be able to seal that up properly. Because it's, like, it's not, mate, shouldn't do that. It's not hyper soft. This part right here is a little squishy, but like, good steel. It's just the corners have just given up. So I would just like to keep the usage to a minimum. So I think that's what we're going to do for the time being, is we are going to throw this guy back in here, just because it makes me feel better. And that one, we will take that big chunk of hardware cloth and just make some into it. We will return this guy back to where it was residing, right there. And I'm just gonna make something to lay in here just to cover it all up, because if I put something like solid in here, it's just gonna collect water and make it even worse. So I think we're just gonna lay the hardware cloth in there just to keep mice out, and rain will still get in, but at least it'll be able to drain back out. And we'll just make sure never to put anything that can't ever get wet in this car ever, except for the glove box. It's the only place so far that I found that's perfectly dry. And alright, so that's what we've done for now, and that's again just to mice proof. So there we go. I'm going to huck that guy back in, and then we'll leave that guy out until I get my antenna grommet and can put the antenna back in. And hopefully these just slide right on in there, and that doesn't get in the way. This one fit really well. Like, it's nice and owl flush. This one's a little bit, iffier, but should be good. Just needs to, be there and stay there. Alright, so I also came over here and I peeled off this tape, and this hole is just really tiny, so I'm just gluing another chunk of pie tin on it, and we're just going to call that good. I have very low expectations for this to work, so I'll probably just pull that off and, I don't know, spray foam it or something. I'll just put a sticker on it. It's not a big hole. It's only like tip of the finger size at most, so it's nothing big. But it's right kind of in the drip edge, and I kind of just would like it to not put water in the cab. I don't know why I'm hung up on this, but the car's never going to be dry, but I can try in vain. Also, we got a chrome license plate border thingy doohickey, so that's neat. Okie dokie. Well, we ended up having one hell of a windstorm, like 40-something mile-an-hour gust, but I don't even think we got a half-inch of rain. This is still held up, still there, ain't gone nowhere. This guy actually seems to have glued itself down, maybe, potentially. Yeah, that's on there solid, so. I mean, if you squint, you can't see it. I made sure to slather the PLX over there, so it's basically the same shade, kind of. But, yeah, kind of took, sort of. So, anywho, think I'm gonna try and patch this trans tunnel too while I'm in the, you know, patchy mood. Don't really know how the hell I'm gonna do that, but there's some, you know, leg venting going on down in here. I think just more hardware cloth. That's probably about good as I'm gonna get, so I think I'm gonna do that real quick. Okie dokie, just got parts in. So we've got our grommet so we can put the antenna in, but before we do that, I actually got a new speedo / odometer. Picked that up for 70 bucks off of eBay. The thing has a shit ton of miles on it compared to mine, so we'll get over that because it was like 70 bucks. Everything else was like 140, and this thing looks to be in fantastic condition. Absolutely beautiful. But the one thing I did just notice is that it's one number off from mine. So this might be for the 288 gear instead of the 307 gear. So that could mean that it's wildly fucking off, which would be very annoying. But I think once we get this one out, I'm going to test this, because I mean, if this is the wrong gear, I don't care. I'm putting it in anyway. But I may just come in here and like make a little mark where 60 miles an hour actually is. Alright, well, I've just been spinning them, and this one reads 61 at full tilt, and this one reads 61 at full tilt, but this one's kind of iffy, and I think this plastic, like, square thingy in there that I've been hooking the drill up to is actually worn out on this one. Like, it was, like, partially disintegrated, and now it looks like it's round. So if I hold the drill at just the right angle, it spins and says 61. So I guess, word of warning, don't spin like the thingy with that. So yeah, I think, you know, the peg on the back of the speedometer cable is like that long, so I don't think it's an issue. I'm only wearing out like the front tip. But they seem to both say 61 at full tilt on the high speed setting on my drill. So I think they're the same gear ratio, as far as I can tell. And I mean, anyway, a 288 is only like, I think like 4 miles an hour off at 60. So it's not that crazy of a difference, like less than 7%. So it's nothing crazy. Okie dokie. Out with the old, in with the newer old, older new, less old looking old one. And yeah, I'm gonna go hook this back in the car, and hopefully speedometer still works and everything else goes back together and I don't break something else in here. Look at that exhaust. Sure is exhausting. Well, anyway, got dash back in. Haven't pushed it all the way in yet. Accidentally put the seatbelt light in the wrong one, so fix that real quick. Everything so far seems to be working. Our tack is working, fuel gauge is working, oil pressure's working. Only thing to see is whether or not the speedo works. So I guess we'll just, you know, go forward a little bit, just see if it moves at all. And we'll take it for a test drive later. Well, kind of looks like it's not moving. Well, that's not a good sign. Oh, there she goes. Belt is angry. Good Lord, that thing is screaming. I don't know if the battery was dead or something or what, but it is very mad today. Well, that is definitely the problem, because we now have that much slop in the belt, and the belts are getting a little tore up. So, yep, I am definitely going to need to tension that probably today. Not looking forward to that. I hate working on that fucking alternator. But hopefully I should just be able to pull the air cleaner out and do that right quick. Oh Lord, always something. Alright, okie dokie, we have wired up the antenna, and we have stuck the switch right there outside of the med kit. So, if all works, when I press this side, we should get some antenna uppage. Alright, here we go. There we are, that's one antenna. Let's see if it goes down. I'd say that's working. Good enough for me. Alright, so here's kind of what the wire abomination looks like. We just got that routed up there underneath the back of the speaker, and I just cut a little hole in the side of the medkit box, and I kept that piece of plastic, so if I ever want to fix that I can. And we have just got this tied up to the old wire run up over here, and I just threw it up here, and we have just taped the piss out of that. Just keep it from shorting. Tuck that over here on the back of the sunroof cable housing tube doohickey. That's all nice and out of the way. We're going to throw the wheel well back in, and I think that's it for the antenna. That's tight again. And I made a makeshift tensioner. Whew, fun. And blew up a hose clamp. Okay, so if you previously didn't see it, I snapped this guy off of the alternator tensioner because, one, it was rusted to hell and it was not coming out, and it was bent at like a 45-degree angle, and the bracket was bent, and I have no idea how the hell it got to be like that. But, I don't know, something seized or something did something horrible. But anywho, this guy came off, so we have just sort of bastardized a 2 M6 nuts onto there. I think they're M6 and 1, whatever it is. The same size as the as this guy and the air cleaner mounts. So I just stuck a washer on there, put one nut on there, tightened it down, put the other nut on there, tightened it down, counter torqued them into each other. And I'm confident those are going to just fall off and drop right into the alternator fan at like 4,000 RPM at some point. But we will ignore them for now. But anywho, alternator is tensioned again. I think it's a little bit tighter than I had it last time, maybe about the same. And yeah, also I noticed that we had some drippage coming out of the up top up here. Also, it looks like we need to flush the radiator again because there's a lot of rust in that coolant. But yeah, and it was more than what is normally leaks out of the short hose down here, and I realized that this hose clamp had given up the ghost. So replace that real quick. That explains why I was losing as much coolant as I was. And yeah, hopefully she is okay for the time being. Radio works. Alright, so we are exactly 5 miles an hour faster between like 40 and 60. So it's a perfect South Carolina speedometer then. You just set it where you're supposed to be going and you're going the actual speed limit. Nice. Alright, well that's going to do it for this episode of Old Mossy. So got a lot sort of accomplished. Got a bunch of fiddly, aesthetic, sort of non-critical stuff done, but it was all stuff that eventually probably should get done. Not necessarily needed to get done, but I'm glad I finally got around to doing it. If you like what I'm doing here, go down there, give the video a like. If you dislike it, give it a dislike. Doesn't matter anymore. YouTube is hiding likes and dislikes, so it's irrelevant. I'm the only one who can see it, so you can hurt my feelings at the very least. If you saw something else that I should probably fix on this thing, go down there, comment, let me know. And if you want to see the rest of this series, you got to subscribe, so go down there, smash the subscribe button. Until next time, Tom out.